Good morning and a very warm welcome to you all, and a very warm and a special welcome to the 5-member team from ECSA from South Africa, from the Engineering Council of South Africa. We are here to run the workshop for us this week. This is an important year for Institution of Engineers of Mauritius, which is celebrating its 70th anniversary this year. We are very proud to be very committed to the education and enhancement of the level of engineering service to the society in general, and in this context, we are implementing several projects which will bring about a paradigm change to the profession. We are presently mentoring over 270 engineering graduates who are undergoing their training at various places, both in the private and public sectors. This is indeed a very laudable project of the government led by the Ministry of Finance and implemented through the Ministry of Labour and Industrial Relations to empower the graduates so that they have the necessary 2-year minimum working experience to register with the Council of Registered Professional Engineers. Secondly, we are organizing an international conference to celebrate the 70th anniversary of IEM and to honor those great men of vision who had created the institution in 1948. This celebration will take place on the 22nd and 23rd of November this year, and will be in the form of a 2-day international conference, and the theme is Contribution of Engineers to the Development, Past, Present and the Future. We are hoping that many of us colleagues, as well as engineers working in Mauritius, will attend as we shall showcase past, present and future major engineering contributions to the society at large in the development of Mauritius. Third and very important project is to apply for membership of the Washington Accord, and this has become the flagship project of IEM for many reasons. First of all, it is in the national interest that our universities produce engineers of the highest caliber, benchmarked by the Washington Accord. Secondly, this project is in line with the government of Mauritius' vision to make Mauritius a regional educational hub of the highest standard. Other reasons include providing mobility to our locally trained engineers at regional and global levels, as well as to attract overseas students to come and study for an internationally recognized engineering degree in Mauritius. IEM's objective is to build its capacity to undertake the engineering program accreditation as an eventual signatory of the Washington Accord in about 5 years' time. In this context, I would like to place on record our grateful thanks to the Engineering Council of South Africa, which is here to run the first of 2 workshops in engineering program accreditation. The Engineering Council of South Africa has voluntarily offered to run for the benefit of both the engineering profession of Mauritius as well as for the higher educational institutions, collaborating with the IEM in its endeavor to establish an institutional regime for the accreditation of engineering education in Mauritius. The 5-member strong delegation of ECSA, coming as it does in the aftermath of the very successful pilot project run by IEM from January to August 2017 with the support of the Royal Academy of Engineering of UK, and coinciding with IEM's own initiative to establish an autonomous engineering accreditation board. This initiative had the full support of the government of Mauritius through the personal dedication of the Honourable Minister of Education and Human Resources, Tertiary Education Scientific Research, Honourable Leela Devi Dukan Lachman, whom we have the greatest pleasure to welcome this morning. Madam, we embrace your vision and fully support the government's determination to transform Mauritius into an educational hub for the region. This IEM-ECSA collaboration is a strong evidence that South-South cooperation as well as institutional cooperations among SADC nations and within Southern African Federation and with the support of the Southern African Federation of Engineering Organization is very much alive and faring well. Ladies and gentlemen, the Engineering Council of South Africa became a signatory of the Washington Accord in 1999, that is 10 years after the establishment of that forum in 1989. ECSA is also a signatory of the Sydney Accord Catering for Technologists in 2001, and the Dublin Accord Catering for Engineering Technicians in 2002. These three accords constitute the International Engineering Alliance. Washington Accord prides itself with 20 members, with the addition recently of Peru as the latest signatory. IEM hopes that this event will be the forerunner of a lasting agreement between the Engineering Council of South Africa and the Institution of Engineers Mauritius. Ladies and gentlemen, during this week, we hope to achieve much by laying some very solid and permanent foundations leading to the application for provisional membership of Washington Accord in about 3 years' time. Procedures leading to eventual membership of the Washington Accord warrant satisfying various conditions. Institution of Engineers is on its way to complying with the conditions set out under Schedule B1, that is, criteria for admission to provisional signatory status in an accord, as well as meeting the requirements under the Schedule B2, criteria for admission to and maintenance of signatory status in the accord. IEM has already satisfied many of these conditions. That is, IEM is being a non-governmental organization, legally incorporated, and its revised constitution provides for the setting of the Engineering Accreditation Board. IEM has already prepared the first very good draft of the governance structure for the implementation of the project, and has set up already various committees such as the consultative group, which is an all-inclusive forum with professionals from all sectors, from higher education institutions, the industry, and the academics. We have also set up the Engineering Accreditation Board, comprising members from the XGIs, professional engineering institutions, Council of Registered Professional Engineers, Tertiary Education Commission, and obviously members of Institution of Engineers in Mauritius. The other very important committees in compliance with the governance structure that have been constituted are the Project Steering Committee, the Engineering Standard Committee, and the Engineering Advisory Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, coming back to this week's objectives, with the assistance of ECSA experts, we intend laying the technical foundations with regard to our short-term goals to meet all the technical criteria for applying for the provisional membership of the Washington Accord. I recall that the IEM's objective is to build its capacity to undertake engineering program accreditation as an eventual signatory of the Washington Accord. Washington Accord warrants that any applying institution be mentored during this period to ensure that accreditation capacities are created are in place. Accreditation exercise warrants also that the accredited institution produces various documents, all in line with the objectives of the Washington Accord procedures to be followed at each stage of the process. During this week's workshop, ECSA will introduce us to all these documents, as well as visit the 4 universities running engineering degree programs in Mauritius. The project lead and chairman of our EAB will give more details about this week's program in his presentations after the opening segment. To conclude my introductory remarks, I would like to thank the Minister of Education, Honorable Leela Devi Dukan Lachman, for having so kindly agreed to be present this morning and to deliver her keynote speech and to open the workshop. My deep and gratitude thanks also go to the Engineering Council of South Africa for having delegated a strong 5-member high-level team to assist IEM to share with us their very valuable experience. I would like also to thank the higher engineering education institutions, the professional engineering institutions, the Tertiary Education Commission, the Council of Registered Professional Engineers, and most of all, you being present here this morning for your valuable support and participation. Thank you very much.
Firstly, I would like to ask our greatest gratitude this morning for a warm welcome that we've received so far. We would have thought that Mauritius was warmer than this, but we are told that it's a colder time of the year. But we are warmed up by the warm smiles and the warm regards and words that we are receiving from you. First of all, I would like to just give a little bit of background, which won't be long. That my first visit here in Mauritius was last year in 2017, and this was after I had met Mr. Jagadish Subara in Ethiopia, and there he had indicated to me that there is a project about accreditation that Mauritius is running. In fact, this was due to the grant that the IEM had gotten from the Royal Academy of Engineers. So I tracked him down to make sure that we can find a way of collaborating. This I did it with the cap that I was wearing at that time from the Southern African Federation of Engineering Organizations, which had to play an oversight role in as far as the projects that are taking place in the Southern Africa is concerned. So we had a discussion, and eventually I came down to see what was going on and how we can assist in that regard. And I should say that that is the meeting that actually made the point that even today we have come down here, because we found it important and imperative as ECSA to assist in something that we think that we know best, so that Mauritius can achieve also the accreditation stage with the Washington Accord. But perhaps I should just say, in terms of the work that we do as Engineering Council of South Africa, we are doing it under the great banner of the Southern African Federation of Engineering Organizations, with the sole purpose of achieving ease of access for engineers in Southern Africa, and also the issue around mobility, so that we all play in the same play level. And the delegation that you see here today, they have great experience in as far as accreditation is concerned. Actually play a role also with the International Engineering Alliance. So my hope is that for the rest of the week we will have great interactions and we will learn a lot from each other, and we will acknowledge the fact that there's a lot that still needs to be done, but we will also see that if we put our heads together and everybody puts their hands on deck, then we will achieve much. I will not say much because a lot is going to be said during the rest of the week, and I hope that we will have fruitful interactions together. And probably I should just introduce the delegation here, Mr. John Cato, who is the executive for regulatory functions, and Mrs. Carmen Wright, who is also in the regulatory function, Professor Jan Ham Pretorius, also and Mr. Jones Moresan. With those words, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
I understand that the Engineering Council of South Africa has spontaneously and voluntarily taken the resolution to come over and to extend mentoring assistance, and thus ensure that the IEM sets off on the right foot towards being a full-fledged signatory of the Washington Accord. Thank you all for your support to the advancement of the engineering profession. Ladies and gentlemen, today's event also gives me the opportunity to express my satisfaction about the Institution of Engineering Mauritius embarking on this endeavor of getting the engineering courses run in Mauritius accredited according to the Washington Accord requirements. And this is seen as having a national outreach, which makes one wonder, why is this Washington Accord accreditation so important? I guess the answer will be well known to most of you who are gathered here today. But I'm given to understand that the Washington Accord is an association regrouping well above 20 national engineering accreditation bodies, all of which motivated by the common goal of promoting quality engineering education. The signatories of the Washington Accord also cater to the interinstitutional recognition of qualifications and professional status. Ladies and gentlemen, that the IEM is working hard towards joining this league of highly reputed engineering councils is worth of our commendation and applause. I need here to congratulate the Institution of Engineers Mauritius, the members of the Engineering Accreditation Board, as well as all the well-wishers in working towards making Mauritius a member of the Washington Accord. IEM's effort is definitely contributing to bringing quality engineering education to our doorsteps. Your effort will also ensure that our students have access to the highest standards and quality education in that field. I need hardly stress, ladies and gentlemen, that this is perfectly aligned with the orientation I have been giving to the education sector. In whatever we do, whatever be our field of predilection, we have to benchmark ourselves against the best. We have to set our sights high and attain a level of standards commensurate with the aspirations we have for our society. This has been a primary objective of my ministry. It is from that perspective that I view the IEM's endeavor to establish an institutional regime for accreditation of engineering education as a very laudable activity that my ministry fully encourages. I'm glad to state that my ministry will be ready to bring forward and to help in coming up with financial support whenever required. And for this project, a small amount of 2 million Mauritian rupees have been contributed. I also appreciate that the IEM has secured stakeholders' collaboration and that there is unanimity of all the main higher education institutions around the accreditation regime. At the national level, as you may be aware, ladies and gentlemen, the Higher Education Act was voted by the National Assembly in late 2017. One of the outcomes of the Higher Education Act will be the revamping of the accreditation process of higher education institutions. Hence, all higher education institutions will have their courses accredited by the new Higher Education Commission. And by all, I mean not only the private institutions, but also the public ones. After all, the higher education institutions, whether they're state or privately funded, have a responsibility towards the large number of students studying on their premises. Parents too have pinned their hopes on these institutions to ensure a bright future for their wards. Hence, the higher education institution's primary duty should be to impart high-quality education to these students in keeping with what they have probably advertised in a bid to attract them. And of prime importance to you, members of the IEM, is the fact that the new setup has taken your engineering accreditation process into account. Obviously, we do understand that the Washington Accord requires the engineering accreditation to be independent from governmental activities. We also understand that engineering accreditation will be one of the elements of the broader institutional accreditation carried out by a national regulatory body. Hence, the Higher Education Act provides that the Higher Education Commission will obtain feedback from the Engineering Accreditation Board, amongst others, before it considers further a university's application for accreditation. Ladies and gentlemen, engineering is a profession that is traditionally well sought after by school leavers. In Mauritius, statistics show that although the tertiary enrollment rate has remained constant at about 49% over the last 4 years, enrollment in engineering courses has been on the rise. The number of Mauritians embarking on engineering programs has in fact been rising steadily to reach about 3,500 last year. We have a look to IEM to ensure that the engineering profession remains one of high responsibility. Young graduates have to be taught that being an engineer is synonymous to having the responsibility of upholding public safety, integrity of engineering design, and guaranteeing the viability of projects through sound economic design. To this end, ladies and gentlemen, my ministry has been studying the concept of outcome-based learning, which is so dear to the Washington Accord, and discussing how best to implement this in the higher education sector across many fields. My ministry has also come forward since March 2017 with a new enhanced qualification threshold of 3 levels to allow entry into university, while at the same time working on academic pathways to cater for late bloomers. Ladies and gentlemen, engineers often speak of their profession as a misunderstood profession. This state of affairs is reinforced by the fact that unlike their counterparts in the legal and medical practices, engineers are not identifiable by their gown or by their titles. Wasn't it Scott Adams who statistically stated that engineers like to solve problems? If there are no problems handily available, they will create their own problems. More seriously, however, the practice of engineering by the wrong people can result in potentially hazardous and unsafe environment for the users, operators, and for society at large. This may to some extent explain the engineering profession's desire to regulate their practice by striving to enhance the quality of engineering education through establishing competency standards. It gives me comfort and that should apply to all of us, that IEM has stepped up to the plate and is nowadays playing an important role in mentoring young engineering graduates. We will note, ladies and gentlemen, that for its part, the government is funding the professional traineeship of a number of young engineering graduates, and this is providing a means by which they can acquire their 2 years of mandatory engineering training prior to an eventual registration with the Council of Registered Professional Engineers of Mauritius. I'm equally aware, ladies and gentlemen, that the engineering profession has, through its multiple institutions or societies of engineers, been playing a very effective role in influencing the quality of engineering education delivered by the higher education institutions around the world. There was even a time when the professional bodies would set their admission standards to that of a degree program taught by the higher education institutions. Over the years, however, the profession has gradually taken over the prerogative of dictating the educational standard for graduates seeking to engage in the practice of engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, the global academic standard advocated by the International Engineering Alliance under the Washington Accord is an example where the profession has taken the lead and the universities have found themselves in a do or die situation. We realize that if Mauritius wishes to attain the goal of becoming a regional education hub, then that hub must include in its education portfolio the delivery of engineering courses that are accredited by the Washington Accord. My understanding of the Washington Accord accreditation, ladies and gentlemen, is that the process leaves no room for doubt as regards the academic standard of a graduate. The accreditation process determines in a very convincing manner whether the learning objectives published for the program have been achieved. And there could be nothing more significant nor more apt for any program on offer, especially in the field of engineering. My strong recommendation, therefore, to all higher education institutions would be to ensure that steps are taken to ensure their engineering degree programs are all accredited by the Washington Accord standard. Such an accreditation may well hold the key to Mauritius becoming a hub through the offer and award of internationally recognized engineering programs. Moreover, ladies and gentlemen, the day the Institution of Engineers Mauritius becomes a signatory to the Washington Accord, the local higher education institutions will not have to go outside Mauritius for that purpose. I'm sure, dear participants from the higher education institutions, that with the mentorship of the experts from the Engineering Council of South Africa, your institutions will be able to transform their programs for compliance with the Washington Accord requirements. It will also have positive fallouts for the Institution of Engineering Mauritius, in that it will be able to demonstrate to the International Engineering Alliance in due course that it has the potential to discharge the IEA obligations as a provisional member of the Washington Accord, and at a second stage satisfy the requirements of a signatory. On this note, I'd like to wish you all a very successful workshop, and I hope both the higher education institutions and the newly constituted Engineering Accreditation Board will derive maximum benefit from the discussions. I now have the pleasure to declare the workshop open.